You're listening to the Karmic Mirror podcast, where we explore the wisdom tucked within the layers of the self-help world.
Together, we bridge the gap between esoteric teachings and practical tools for everyday life, with self-love and personal growth at the heart of each conversation.
Whether you're a seasoned seeker or just beginning your path, join us and uncover the magic within and around you. Hello and welcome back to Karmic Mirror. Hello, Allie.
Hi, Michelle.
So we're back with our monthly edition of channeled tarot readings on the new moon with Liz Pratt, our resident witch, herbalist, channeler of goddesses, specifically Hecate. And in today's reading, it seems as though Liz has pulled a few cards that wanted to come through, a few messages. She talks a little bit about some other goddesses, which I find really fascinating. But a little bit on this particular new moon. So we are entering eclipse season. Fun times, very different than your traditional new moon. And this is a annually occurring thing. We go into eclipse season. So we have back-to-back eclipses. It starts here with the new moon, which is a solar eclipse that occurs when the moon entirely blocks the sun. So you may see some verbiage out there around a ring of fire, because as the moon blocks the sun, it looks like a ring of fire around the moon. And like many of the modern day interpretations, we're really drawing on ancient wisdom. And so we think of terms like ring of fire, and it feels really potent and powerful. Because if you didn't have context, if you weren't living in 2026 and had access to all of these astrologers and you just saw a ring of fire around the moon, it might feel pretty wild.
Do you imagine? It's like people who've spotted UFOs these days. That's probably what
Yeah.
the
Or just on
reaction.
any
Yeah.
type of solar eclipse, you're like, where the hell did the moon go? What happened? And
Yeah.
so it feels really potent as always. There's so many different ways you can slice it. And, I would say that power and potency of any moon cycle, be it a solar eclipse, which is a little bit more, right? The light is being eclipsed. You could have power outages. It can feel a little bit maybe chaotic. It can feel like it shakes things up a little bit. But really any cycle of the moon, depending on where that moon is, what sign it lands in, could feel more or less potent in your life based on your personal placements, your personal natal chart.
Well,
And
the
so,
eclipse is making the new moon more dramatic, more hyped up, is kind of what I
hmm, yeah, that's
heard.
definitely, I think so. And I think, we've talked about this in our last episode, not our last episode, but when we did an episode on eclipses, just kind of like the basics of eclipses. We talk a lot about the things that we don't do on eclipses, which kind of counteract what we would normally tell people on a new moon. So typically on a new moon, it's a new beginning of some sort, right? You're turning the page on some sort of new chapter. We associate new moons with setting intentions that you can sort of, if you plant the seed of intention on the new moon, then over the course of that cycle, you would water your seed and you would tend to your garden and you would do the work, so to speak, of whatever it is you're calling in. You're meeting the intention with your actions and then kind of harvesting, a few weeks in or whatever that looks like. But with the eclipse season, that kind of goes out the window, because again, if the power outages, if the light is being eclipsed, if the sun is being blocked by the moon, our light source is being stifled. And so instead of trying to embark on something new, it is a lot more centered around themes of rest and to the body. The moon itself represents our body and our emotions. And when the light of the sun, when all of this feels a little chaotic during eclipse season, you want to be especially conscious of tending to your body and to ground and to hydrate and just take care of yourself in these moments, to rest and not try to start something new like you might do otherwise.
So then when we're talking about, yes, all that makes sense with eclipse. And then when we're talking about new moons and new beginnings,
Mhm.
because this new moon is in Aquarius, and I got so sidetracked because when we were talking about Ring of Fire, I had just been reading about Johnny Cash and
I
I
was
got
just gonna say,
stuck in my head. That's what, if you saw me doing something, I was like, wait, is that the name of his song too? Just fact checking in my head with that, which I thought
Ring of
was
Fire.
Ring of Fire, yeah.
And clearly I'm not shutting down.
But anytime to bring up a song or a musician, because I know if you know a lyric, you will sing it live
I gotta do it. I
on the
gotta do
podcast.
it.
I love it. So then when we're talking about these new beginnings, because what I was learning about Aquarius and some of the verbiage that was being shared is like, expect it for us to give the push we need. Marks a powerful, unpredictable start of the year's eclipse season, signaling radical, accelerated change, innovation, a shift towards collective, forward-thinking goals. And so when we're thinking about the moon being our body, that's what is coming up for me. Like it feels contradicting and
Hmm.
also because energy and things are moving so quickly, it also makes sense that need for rest and recuperation with everything going on so quick. But Aquarius is usually related to just like solving problems, looking outside of the box, really quick shifts, right? Quick technology, social. That's what I was
Yeah, that's
reading a little
very
bit about.
Aquarian. So Aquarius is all of those things. Aquarius is about the collective. It's we, not just I. It's about social systems, yes. And in a way, yeah, it's freedom energy, and also it's ruled by the planet Saturn. In classic astrology, it's ruled by Uranus, but we consider in modern astrology, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is discipline. Saturn is restructuring. So it feels like, and I feel like we've been saying this before, but there is something really important to gathering yourself, to restructuring, to organizing and arriving where you are before moving forward. And I think that's still the energy that we're in. And so I also thinking about eclipses in general, right? When the sun, which is our our vitality, our purpose, our identity, it can be ego, but when the sun is eclipsed, it's to me, like I said before, it's like your light source is temporarily blocked. And so that for me translates literally into my clarity is blocked right now.
Mm.
Not meant to see the full picture yet. So what can I do when I don't see the full picture, but the energy is very Aquarian, it's very forward thinking, it's very collective, it's very breaking down systems, but it's ruled by Saturn. So it's like, let's get organized first before we move forward. You're not meant to see the big picture yet because we're a little bit obscured with the eclipse, but you are meant to gather yourself, reorganize, whatever it is, so that when you're ready to move forward, when the clarity comes at post-eclipse season, am I moving forward with the right intention? And if we were really thinking broadly about collective themes, because it's really, for me, it's impossible to love and speak astrology and not always be thinking of things as both collective and personal. Like it's like the more you get into it, it's really hard to not see them both side by side, to be like, the astrology's making me feel whatever is going on in my personal life, but then you're like zooming out to what's happening on a collective level. And I feel like this Aquarius energy, which also it's happening near the North Node, which is like really ambitious energy as well. It's on this set of Leo Aquarius axis, which are opposing, and Leo is the sun. So it is conflicting, like you said, right? Like if Leo and Aquarius access is being activated here, then it is this push and pull between me and my ego and my vitality and my purpose and what needs to happen on the for the collective, for the world at large, which obviously if you're not living under a rock, you can't, you would be very or somewhat aware of everything collectively going on around us, all of these structures that very rightly need to be crumbling in order to see something very Aquarian collective focus new emerge. And so purely on a collective level, it feels like, yeah, like it's not chaotic energy in the sense of like chaos and freedom in that way, but it's very much like calculated, but in integrity. Like what needs to happen collectively that is Aquarian driven, is truly about the collective. Like we all can rise together. It's about community. It's about shifting your ideology. And I think about belonging. Aquarius is about like creating structures for belonging that you can be both. Aquarius is like to me is the ultimate conflicting energy of how do I still be an individual while also belonging to the collective? And
Yeah.
and how do I balance that? And I think the world, the people are starting to wake up to that idea that we're not just all in it for ourselves, even
Mhm.
though we can be an individual, but that means like my individuality should also work with the greater good. How do I belong without betraying myself? And how do I serve without disappearing or self-sacrificing? Because I think those binary thinking of like, I can only think about myself or I have to self-sacrifice to save the world are outdated roles. I think people are going to, and so that's why I think this new moon, when we talk about restructuring this idea of Saturn energy, of reorganizing, arriving, where are you right now? It's like, how do I gather myself to be able to do both? How do I serve the generator, ultimate generator lesson? How do I serve others without losing myself? And I think that's part of what we're organizing our thoughts and our actions around in this eclipse moment. We don't know the bigger picture. We don't have the answer and we don't have it all figured out. But I think we can collectively and personally start to consider those types of questions. How do I serve?
Mhm.
How do I be of service without losing myself? How do I make sure that I feel a sense of belonging without changing who I am by still being an individual?
Yeah, I think just globally, collectively, and I think even just looking in the life surrounding me on a day-to-day basis, that this eclipse really highlighting and challenging our issues surrounding
Mhm.
social connections,
Yeah.
place in society, friendship, alliances, and innovative approaches. And as you're talking, yeah, it's this innovation and it can go quick, 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 quick. But I just am feeling called to keep reiterating that, like new moons, it's a good reminder for me is that new moons aren't necessarily about action, they're about
Yeah.
planting those seeds yet again. And feel like we've been talking about planting seeds for the last month.
For the last month.
And yet here we are again. But yeah,
Yeah.
when I think about that, I mean, even just on a global scale, you think about alliances. Countries are looking at who they want to align
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
right? With a lot of the stuff going on in the world right now. So even from
Yeah.
that perspective,
Well, and what you said too is we've been talking about planting seeds for like the last month. And I think that speaks to at least what resonates with me about that is that we are again talking about this, but everything around us in the world, if you are plugged in online, whatever it is, everything around us is about urgency and pressure. And I don't think urgency and pressure allow a lot of room for integrity and intention and for we are pressure to make a decision fast, to move fast, to respond quickly. And not everyone is built that way. And in fact, I think most people are acting in that sense of urgency, which feels to me like it's like living in like a I don't want
do
to say
this
fight or
now
flight.
or else.
Yeah, like it's fear
Yeah.
based in so many ways. And
Donate for your kids right now at two, or not donate, but invest in your children right now at two, or their futures are going to be
yeah,
terrible,
everything.
or like sign up now, or else you're going to miss this offer, or you know,
Or
all
like
the things, the fear around not acting urgently.
that's exactly. And I think that because of the astrology, like because bigger shifts, bigger changes require more intention and more thoughtfulness, that it's important to really, really take the time to know where the hell you are right now, know who you are in this, fast-paced world and know the best ways for you to show up. And so I think that it's so spot on. The other thing I'll say about eclipses always activate an axis. So I talked about the Leo Aquarius axis. They're
Mhm.
on opposite ends of the zodiac chart. They are opposites. And so they activate this axis. It's not always just one sign. So we say it's a solar eclipse in Aquarius. Well, that means it's activating the Leo Aquarius axis. And like I said, Leo is about, I'm sorry, Aquarius Leo is literal self and collective. They're the
Mhm.
opposites, but they are not, you can't have one without the other. Or you
Yeah.
can, but you need to live on a desert island surrounded by no other humans where you can only think about yourself. And even then, that's not so fun. You're Tom Hanks on Stranded or on whatever that movie is that I watched for the first time in 2025. Okay. It was so sad.
Wilson,
Oh, what was it
Wilson.
called? What's it?
No, Wilson is the volleyball, his friend.
Wilson, yeah, yeah. Oh, that was sad. I couldn't believe I didn't watch it until 2025, but I could
I don't
because
know why I can't remember the name. It's not.
it's not like stranded
I know I was
or
thinking Strand.
shipwrecked.
I was thinking shipwrecked. It's not. Okay, you keep going with your thought. I'm gonna
Uh,
Google.
yeah, so it is literally a theme of our self, our individual, our self-expression, and the collective. So Leo rules this is ruled by the sun. It's heart-centered, but it's about self-expression. It's about being seen. It's about leadership, but authentic leadership in your personal identity. Aquarius, ruled by Saturn, is about the group, the future, systems and structures. Our ideal, it's so fun. It's like ideals over the ego and where can I contribute? And so some of the questions could be, where have I dimmed myself in order to belong? That's a question to ponder right now as and we ask questions to reflect so that we can gather ourselves, because so that we can arrive at where we are, know where we are in this moment, know who we are in this moment. And then as the clarity comes after the eclipse season, you can just move forward in a much more aligned, authentic way for you. So, like I said, where have I dimmed myself to belong? Or on the opposite end of that, where have I centered myself without regard for its impact on others? It's like two different sides of the same coin, but we can flex into either or maybe you live in one space more than others, right? Like I think it's so, and not to use us, but you and I are so opposite in a lot of ways. And I think I could reflect on both of these questions equally. But if I had to say, like, what question would I ask you and what would I ask myself? I would ask myself, where have I centered myself without regard for its impact? And I would ask you, where have I dimmed myself to belong?
Yeah.
Even though we both could answer both questions and both can rightfully reflect on both questions. But I think just based on, like, it just is an example of how everyone can put themselves in these with these
When
questions.
you were talking even through that, and I had looked through some of the cards that Liz pulled, and what's
Mm.
interesting is I see that star card again, which is what just
Ah,
stood out for me, and the
uh-huh.
star is my theme for the year, which is also that word for the year. One of the words is that shine and is all about um exactly what you were just saying about the question you would ask me. What was that question? It was so beautiful.
Where have I dimmed myself to
Hmm.
in order to belong? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think as you're saying that, what's been coming up a lot for me, and my son is in my seventh house. I love collaboration, partnerships. And I will say in this conversation, what I've been noticing is a desire to want to move forward with all of these ideas, projects, offerings. And I really love a partnership and believe in partners making things stronger. And also going back to like not having the urgency to rush towards one North Star for any of these projects or set in stone that they're going to be partnerships. I'm
Yeah.
just really taking the time to think through like what can I do on my own and what elevates myself and where do I really want partnership and would the collective really benefit from a partnership. And so that's interesting that came up here now. But anytime that star card keeps coming to me, it's just that reminder back to me of where are you dimming?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, so very as this three line who experiences part of how I start to learn the energies of new moons and solar eclipses is to one, get the intellectual knowledge around it and then just to experience it, which is where I really take it in. And for me, I'm really feeling called to take some step backs and take more pauses before rushing forward with things. And of course, a lot of stuff comes up that I can tend to and nurture in that space. I'm wondering if you, because for me, I just feel like I'm day by day at this point. It's freaking
yeah.
cold, one step in front of the other, just getting out of bed, doing things that light me up and make me happy and keep me warm. I'm wondering if you had any plans or lingering thoughts on how you might work with the energy. for this new moon in Aquarius side by side with the solar eclipse.
Yeah, oftentimes with eclipses, and I'm speaking for myself, but I think a lot of people say this too, or for me, full moons in particular. I always notice my sleep gets a little bit more interrupted than usual. And so people listening may experience fatigue. Also just, in terms of working with, I think with eclipses, we don't necessarily have to focus too much on doing anything other than taking care of ourselves and paying attention. I think when you let yourself
Mm.
slow down and the episode that's coming out before this, so hopefully you'll listen. If not, go back and listen. Will be with Vicky Winkler. And I think one of the things we talk about with her is resting while awake, and the difference
Mm.
between rest isn't always just sleep. And I think that's something to make note of here because for me, rest is not distracting myself. So, not letting myself be like, let me lay on the sofa and scroll through my phone because it's not really rest. And energetically, there are things happening. And so I think a lot about what does resting and being present and aware or just allowing myself to notice the things that come up. And that can only really happen when you sit with whether it be stillness, meditation, breath work, or just resting, reading a book, whatever it is, listening to music that lets you have a little bit more space to listen because I think you'll be surprised at what occurs just because it's eclipse season and maybe we say clarity is eclipsed, clarity might not be present. That doesn't mean that nothing shows up. In fact, it's probably more likely that you'll have a lot of questions in your mind coming up, like questioning all of the things we talked about, your roles in community, your role in friendships. I mean, I literally just wrote an essay on friendships and female friendships throughout life because I grew up on Heathers and Mean Girls and all of these themes. And you also might feel like your energy wants to pull back. You don't want to be social right now. Who knows? Whatever that looks like for you. Or have, like many, many people, a heightened frustration with the systems and institutions and group dynamics that are really, really current. And so, anyways, I say all of that to say that I will be working on some active rest, not just sleep. I mean, granted, I'm going to be on a vacation before this. And so I'll be in a place to really, really rest and enjoy in like real joyful, satisfying type of rest and letting what comes through come through, just taking care of myself. Honestly, if there's one thing that I'm actively doing that I'm trying to break a habit of, it is about my sleep patterns. So very apropos of the moment. I'm trying to just get better sleep. Like I'm a good sleeper. I'm a Leo. I love to sleep. I love to nap, but I also love to stay up late. And that's not ideal for the kind of care I want to give my body. And it's been, and so that's the one thing I'm actively working on is adhering to the, if you look up the TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, there's a internal body clock. In Ayurveda, there's an internal body clock, but all signs point to get your ass in bed by 10. And that
Mm.
is really hard for me in a lot of ways. So that's what I'm actively working on and just reconnecting with some of my, meditation and breathwork practices that I think, oddly enough, in this season of winter, you would think I would do this so easily, but all I want to do is like slug around and be warm and cozy. And that doesn't always look like those practices.
I know. I think about that even with moving my body or even meditation and breathing. I'm like, how can I finagle this so that I'm cozy and warm and still completing it? There also just is that hibernation to this part of the year, especially where we're at.
I know. So I had a couple questions and I won't ask them or anything. Maybe I'll put them in our Substack newsletter. But I do think that this is a good time to just reflect on some of those questions we talked about, your individual personal role and your collective role, and how do those two, how do they feel in your body when you consider what they look like now? Does it still fit into who you are today, or does something need to change? And the last question I had for the closing this was, where am I being asked to tell the truth about what no longer fits, even if I don't know what comes next? Like, I think that's it, allow yourself to sit with the questions without having all the clarity, but just let it
Or
permeate.
action items behind it,
Yeah.
right? You can even get clarity, and that doesn't mean you have to move or run or hustle.
Yeah.
You can seek for clarity on the easiest way in which that thing can enter your life or get accomplished.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Enjoy Liz's reading, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, Karmic Mirror community. It's me, Liz Pratt of Fireside Healing, your favorite witch. And I am back today for the new moon tarot reading. So set up your sacred space, take a deep breath, and relax and get ready to receive some divine guidance to help you navigate this lunation. And what a lunation it is. So, I feel like for the past, gosh, I mean, at least couple years, if you are into astrology, if you follow astrologers or see them, you have probably seen them come up on your feed, on your For You page, being like, you don't want to miss this new moon, or this is a transit that you'll only see once in your lifetime. And it's probably a little exhausting, right? Like we're all kind of, I'm sure we're all tired of living through unprecedented events and major shakeups and collapses and all of that. But I am here to tell you, I'm here with a message that is sorry. It's going to continue and you need to get comfortable with discomfort. I know. I mean, I'm sitting here as I record this. My pipes are frozen. I am a frigid. I'm a little popsicle sitting in my living room with this tarot spread, and I am uncomfortable. But you know what? Here we are, and at least we're here together. So before I get into the reading, a couple things are happening today. So yes, it's the new moon in Aquarius. New moons, as I've stated before, are a great time for insular work, a great time for introspection, to come back to the self, to do some shadow work, because as you know, we make a lot of changes in the dark. This is a time when there's no light from the moon. It feels like we don't have that direct that light directing us. So what we have is the ability to come back to ourself, to our inner wisdom. New moons are also a great time to clear space, to take inventory of what's going on, and to restart, to manifest, or to start something new. So this is also happening on a solar eclipse. Yay! The first eclipse of 2026. Solar eclipses are all about like new beginning, or not necessarily new beginnings, but more of like a release of letting go. It's a time when the sun is like taken from us. It's hidden from us. The day becomes dark, which is, I think typically, especially in witchcraft, sometimes it's seen as like a scary time or a spooky time of like, we're not protected from that solar energy and, things can get a little dicey. And in some ways, yes, because I'm sure that you're feeling this kind of like staticky, really like electrifying, shedding kind of energy. But it's also, I think particularly in this position where it really feels like a new start. Or like not a new start of like this excitement. It's more of like asking us to restart. Okay, this isn't gonna work. This is your time to restart. And then finally, what's ultimately happening today is the Chinese Lunar New Year. So we are officially in the fire horse year. We've left the wood snake behind. This is it. It's happened. We are officially in the fire horse. So if you needed more reasons to restart, here you are. Here are three different events from the universe asking us to restart, rethink, transform and expand. So let's get right into the reading. I've done things a little bit differently today. I have a theme card, and then I've just pulled whatever I was like, spirit, whatever needs to fall out of this deck, whatever I need to speak to, just show me. So that's what we've done here. I'm going to start with the theme though. All right. The theme is the 10 of Swords in reverse. Now, if you hop on our Substack or hop on Karmic Mirror's Substack, you will see the image of this card. And so that'll give you a little bit of insight into like where I'm going with this. But in this card that I'm seeing, 10 of Swords reverse, rather than laying down and being defeated by all of these swords, kind of like slumped over, which is typically what we see, how this card is represented, it looks as if the blood that would normally be draining out of this maiden into the earth is being pulled from the earth into her body, giving her the strength to pull out the swords. So she is not defeated. She is not done. What looked like a flop, what looked like a failure, was actually a point that the universe said, no, baby, it's time for you to rise. You are not done. So that's the energy that is guiding this reading. And what comes up for me, and what I was seeing last night in my dream space, because I get a lot of psychic information in my dreams, and what I was carrying with me this morning, and as I sat down to this reading, I closed my eyes to ground and they were right there. It is Goddess Inanna and her sister, her counterpart, Goddess Ereshkigal. So if you are unfamiliar, these are Sumerian goddesses. And Inanna, I have always thought of her as like, I used to even refer to her as the goddess of all that is and ever was. She, to me, feels very much like the root of the frequencies of the divine feminine that we've worked with throughout the centuries. Like if we think of the divine feminine as a tree, I've always felt like Inanna is the trunk and Ereshkigal is the roots. And this story in particular that I'm going to share with you, mirrors the natural cycles that we see in Mother Nature, and also the natural cycles that happen within our bodies on a cellular level and within our journey, our interpersonal journey, and our spiritual journey. So Inanna, the goddess of love and beauty and fertility, she was tasked with having to go into the underworld, descend into darkness, move through 7 gates, being relinquished of all of her powers in order to meet her sister, the goddess of the underworld, the goddess of darkness and shadows and introspection. And when she reached her sister, having stripped of all of her powers, the myth is that she died, but then also merged with her sister, became her sister, and then ultimately comes back up and rises or is resurrected from those shadows back into the light. So this, as you can kind of see, is like it's mirroring what we have to do really on our personal journey, right? Like when we are at this point when things are not working, or we've been in the same space for too long, everything feels really stale, and you don't want to be in this place anymore, then that's when you start to maybe get depressed, uncomfortable, and you're forced to come back to yourself, visit your shadows, explore your subconscious, explore your psyche. So going into that underworld, into that darkness, in order to meet the shadow and merge or welcome the shadow back into your being back into the light so that you can resurrect or become this like newer version of yourself. I mean, that's how really, if we really think about it, that is how we make changes in our life. That's how we transform. That's the process of it. And that is the energy all compiled together of the solar eclipse, of the new moon in Aquarius, and of this lunar new year. And it really feels like this might also be for you a time when you are moving from focusing on yourself as an individual to shift that consciousness into, okay, how can I be support? How can I better support or be supported by my community, the collective, society at large? That's very Aquarian. Aquariuses are individuals, they are humanitarians, they are idealists, and sometimes they do have a hard time. I have a lot of Aquarius placements. If you do as well, this might really resonate with you, but feeling like an outsider or kind of an alien, like you don't know where to fit, but ultimately knowing that you have to fit somewhere and that your whole purpose is to use those gifts in order to benefit humanity and the collective. So that's the energy that we're working with. The first card that fell out of the deck, and there was two cards that fell out together. The Eight of Cups and the Star. So this is like leaving something behind, intentionally leaving something behind you. This isn't like, oh, this didn't work. And because it didn't work, I'm forced to do something else. This is like, something might be working actually. Like it could be a job that is working for you and you're okay, but it does not fulfill you. So again, or like a project that like you're halfway through it and then, you're like, I don't know if this feels right. It's very much like this decision to intentionally leave something behind. And what we're leaving something behind and moving into the Star card, which Star for me is very closely linked to Aquarius. Star is like, she's an idealist. She is super connected. It's all about renewal and spiritual faith and like really allowing the universe to show you how beautiful things can get. So whatever is not fulfilling you in your life currently, this is your universal guidance to leave it behind and to trust, which can be uncomfortable, which can be very scary. And that's when we move into the next two cards that fell out, which is the Four of Pentacles reversed and the Nine of Swords reversed. Four of Pentacles really talks about what can happen when we take risks and what can happen when we refuse to take risks. And it kind of creates, when we are on a path where we really are being asked to trust and to move forward without knowing where that's going to lead, sometimes we restrict and we pull everything in really tight and we're like, cling to what we have and we say, no, I don't feel like I have anything, but I can't lose this, so I'm going to cling and I'm going to just stay in this comfortable space until I can't be here anymore. But what's happening today is that point when you can't be there anymore. You cannot expand in a place of comfort. Comfort keeps us complacent. It keeps you complacent in your own life, but it also keeps us complacent collectively. Moving into our power and I would say rising into our power can be uncomfortable. Ask Inanna. She had to do it, and I'm sure she was like, this is uncomfortable, but she did it because she's a goddess and she's a model for She's a divine model for us as humans. And if she can do it, she's saying you can do it too. Nine of Swords. Yikes. That anxiety, the fear, the paranoia, the fear of like, well, if I leave this behind, what's waiting on the other side? Like, I need to know everything. I need to control. I need to control. You can't control your life. You can't control the things that happen to you. You can set intentions. You can, listen to intuition. You can do your best, but ultimately, you don't have the control. And this is the moment when we accept that. When these feelings come up for you, it is really important at this juncture that we know the difference between our intuition, our internal wisdom, our spiritual center, where we're getting our guidance from, and fear and anxiety and paranoia. Now is the time to be discerning, because we can't listen to fear anymore. It's not the way that and astrologically speaking, and this year of the fire horse, it will not allow us to listen to fear any longer. So the last card that fell out is the Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles isn't quite the 10 of Pentacles, right? It's not the like ultimate manifestation. You get all this stuff, you're in like this awesome place, but you are there. You are getting there. You've made progress. You've made progress that feels really good. The Seven of Pentacles is a harvest card. This is the moment when we're like, man, hey, I tried it. I stuck with it. I trusted myself. I trusted my power, and it did move me forward. It moved me forward, and I'm proud of the work that I've done. And I can get to this place where I can pause and appreciate and feel grateful for moving through that discomfort, for moving through that fear, and for ultimately trusting my own power, my own abilities, and spirit for guiding me through. You are safe. You are supported. And you are loved. And when we make change, when we transform, when we want to expand, when we're tired of being pushed around, being, forced to really stay complacent and stay quiet, and it's hard, but this is the hard work that will pay off. So today, my advice to you would be to ground. Today and the next few days, find a grounding practice that works for you. Ground, hydrate, and really just allow yourself to sit with the discomfort and observe it and see what it can teach you. If you need a little extra guidance, if you need a little extra support on your journey, and you are interested in learning more practices that can support your spirit, your energy, and your body, let's connect. You can find me on social media. My handle is at Fireside Healing, or you can visit my website, www.firesidehealing.me, and browse some of my offerings, or just connect with me. And we'll see what we can do together to support you and your energy during this time. Thank you for being here today with me and for sharing this sacred space. I hope this resonated. I love you. I support you. Blessed be, witches.
Thanks for tuning in. If you resonate with today's conversation, connect with us on Instagram at Karmic Mirror Podcast and send us a message.
And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. And if you're loving Karmic Mirror, we'd appreciate a glowing review or share with someone who could benefit.
As we close, remember, life is not a one-size-fits-all approach. How are you honoring your unique path? Stay curious and always be kind to yourself. Until next time on Karmic Mirror.